A Stoic perspective on respect. Why is it that some people are skilled, accomplished, even successful, yet when they walk into a room, no one truly respects them? This is not only a curious question, it strikes a silent nerve in many of us. We often assume that if we are capable, if we achieve enough, then respect will naturally follow. But reality is harsher. Talent and success may draw attention, yet respect must be earned through inner character. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "Don't seek to be respected by others. Live in such a way that you yourself respect who you are." That is the essence of the difference. Respect, in the Stoic light, is not something we beg for or manipulate from others. It does not lie in our control. What is in our control is our attitude, our conduct, and our integrity. A person who lives with principle, who maintains consistency, will sooner or later command respect. By contrast, someone who chases approval, flaunts achievements, or forces others to listen may gain attention, but never genuine respect. If you look closely at life, you'll notice this. There are those who are undeniably talented, but lack composure. They speak loudly, act rashly, flare up at the smallest disagreement. They believe strength lies in overpowering others' voices, yet their very lack of control exposes a fragile core. Stoicism teaches us, anyone who cannot govern their own emotions is not truly strong. And if one lacks inner strength, how could they ever earn lasting respect? Picture a leader. Some leaders excel at their craft, but in meetings, they dismiss every idea except their own. Their team obeys out of fear, not respect. On the other hand, there are leaders who speak sparingly, but every word is calm, deliberate, and above all, fair. They do not impose, nor do they shout, yet people willingly follow. Why? Because behind their words is stability, an inner foundation that makes others feel safe. The Stoics remind us that respect begins with self-respect. A person without principles, who shifts with every passing benefit, will never earn trust. Self-respect is the root. Keeping promises, refuse and act against conscience, and standing firm when temptation whispers the easier way. This constancy, more than brilliance, commands reverence. I once worked with a colleague who was exceptionally bright, always quick with ideas. Yet he had a flaw. His words never aligned with his actions. He promised much, but withdrew at the crucial moment. In time, no one trusted him. His brilliance remained, but the respect of the group evaporated. It echoed Seneca's words, "Reputation rests not on what you boast, but on what you consistently do." In the same group was another man, not particularly creative, not the most gifted, but he possessed one trait. He always kept his word, and he always took responsibility. When hardship came, he did not seek excuses, he stepped forward. Over time, he became the one everyone respected. When he spoke, others listened. Not because he sought attention, but because they knew his words came from honesty and concern for the common good. To a Stoic, respect is not a goal, but a natural outcome. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, often reminded himself, "Do not worry about what others think of you. Worry only whether you act in harmony with reason and nature." In other words, if you live rightly, respect will come in due time. If you live wrongly, even endless efforts to please others will crumble to dust. Look at society today and you'll see many succeed without being respected. Some are famous, but more notorious than admirable. Some are wealthy, but their words carry no weight. They possess glitter, but lack depth. Respect is not the same as admiration. Admiration can arise from talent, wealth, or beauty. Respect requires virtue, and virtue cannot be borrowed, bought, or faked. Here lies another Stoic insight. Never measure your worth by how much respect others give you. To do so is to surrender your soul to external judgment. You become a slave to others' opinions. The Stoic path demands autonomy. What matters is whether you live by principle, by reason, by integrity. If you do, then even if no one yet recognizes it, you carry within you an unshakable dignity. I recall a friend who became a manager in a large company. He was not loud, nor was he the most impressive in meetings, but he was consistent, punctual, reliable, fair in every decision. At first, perhaps few noticed him, but over time, as others revealed their selfishness or hypocrisy, He remained steady. Eventually, he became the one whom everyone trusted. He never sought respect, but respect found him. That is Stoicism in practice. Master yourself, and respect follows naturally. Sadly, many capable people sabotage their own respect. They let ego, anger, or greed take command. They confuse outer shine with inner worth. But Stoicism reminds us, respect is born within. It comes from composure in adversity, from restraint when anger tempts, from fidelity to principle when compromise is easiest. A person who lives this way may not be celebrated at once, but over time, they will be respected in a way far deeper than fame or applause. To conclude part 1, respect does not lie in success nor in loud voices, but in self-mastery, integrity, and consistency. Those who are gifted but lack humility and virtue forget the root. To be respected, one must first respect oneself. If we live rightly, firmly, humbly, then even if the world delays its recognition, our worth remains intact. If we live wrongly, then even if the world applauds us, its respect is nothing but illusion. Habits that destroy respect. A Stoic perspective. Have you ever noticed that some people, despite being extremely talented or holding high positions in society, never truly earn genuine respect? They may be feared, admired for their power, or flattered because of others' interests. Yet deep down, the way people look at them is not with sincere respect. What they receive is just a shallow mask of courtesy. And when others turn their backs, they are seen as empty, loud, and distant. This isn't fate. It often comes from the very habits they feed every day. Quietly, those habits erode dignity and weaken the roots of true honor. Stoic philosophy, more than 2,000 years ago, pointed out that people don't lose freedom, tranquility, or the respect of others in a single moment. It's a process. It begins with small habits, with thoughts we allow ourselves to indulge in, with actions that seem harmless but repeated often enough, form our character. Epictetus once said, "You become what you repeatedly do." Excellence, then, is not an act but a habit. But the reverse is also true. The loss of dignity is not an accident. It is a result of wrong habits. In this reflection, let's examine those destructive habits more closely. Not just identify them, but to view them through the Stoic lens. If we want to protect our inner calm, to live in such a way that people listen without us ever having to shout, then what must we cast aside? And what should we cultivate instead? The first habit that destroys respect is reckless speech. What separates humans from animals is our power of language, but that very gift is also a double-edged sword. Marcus Aurelius once reminded himself, "Let your words be simple, straight, and brief." Because when we let our tongues run wild with emotion, anger, bitterness, boasting, we may think we're showing strength, but in truth, we're revealing weakness. Those who constantly raise their voices to prove they're right are often the most insecure. Those who lash out with cruel words are usually the ones who haven't mastered their own minds. In today's world, you see this all the time online. People arguing endlessly on social media, flinging insults just to win some fleeting victory. But what is that victory worth, other than making them look small in the eyes of others? A Stoic would choose silence when needed, knowing silence carries its own power. One carefully chosen word is worth more than 1,000 bitter ones. Respect usually flows to those who practice restraint, not to those who can shout the loudest. The second habit is arrogance. Talent, achievements, and knowledge can make a person shine. But when those things turn to reasons to look down on others, the light quickly darkens. Epictetus warned his students, "If you know much, do not boast, for boasting is proof that you do not know enough." Arrogant people forget that everything they have is fragile, and no one truly respects someone who always exalts themselves. At work, we often see highly skilled individuals who no one actually wants to collaborate with because they dominate conversations and never listen. Arrogance may bring short-term success, but it is like a fire that burns brightly and then consumes everything around it, leaving behind nothing but the ashes of isolation. Stoics value humility not to appear virtuous, but because humility is the only way to learn and to maintain authentic relationships. They know respect doesn't come from proving superiority. It comes from lifting others up and walking alongside them. The third habit that destroys respect is dishonesty. People may forgive mistakes, but repeated lies are much harder to forgive. Even the smallest lie can shake the foundation of trust, and once trust collapses, respect cannot survive. Seneca once said, "No man has a good enough memory to be a perfect liar." Sooner or later, the pieces of truth and deception clash, and when they do, the mask falls. In our fast-moving age, dishonesty doesn't just damage an individual's reputation, it can destroy entire careers. A politician, a business leader, an artist, all it takes is one exposed deception, and years of reputation may never be restored. Stoics believe that living truthfully is the shortest path to peace of mind, not because they fear exposure, but because they understand. To lie is to betray yourself. And if you cannot respect yourself, don't expect anyone else to respect you. The fourth habit is avoiding responsibility. The world is full of people who constantly blame circumstances, other people, luck, or fate. They fail, and they blame their colleagues. They make mistakes, and they blame the environment. They are unhappy, and they blame destiny. But this attitude only makes them smaller in the eyes of others. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "Remember, it is not the external events that harm you, but your reaction to them." A Stoic doesn't run from responsibility, because they know only when we accept it do we actually have the power to change. A person who admits mistakes openly and explains how they will correct them not only preserves respect but strengthens trust. While someone who always dodges responsibility, no matter how clever, will ultimately be seen as a coward. The dangerous part is that these four habits don't usually show up boldly at first. They creep in slowly in small moments. One insult in anger, one boast to gain praise, one lie to escape discomfort, one excuse to protect pride. Then we repeat. Each time we think it harmless, but in reality, we are carving cracks into our character. One day, those cracks widen into empty space, and others see only immaturity when they look at us. Stoicism doesn't tell us to live harshly or isolate ourselves from the world. It teaches us to stay awake, to avoid falling into the cycle of wrong habits. Respect is not something we demand. It is a natural result of how we live. If we speak with restraint, we are seen as composed. If we stay humble, we are seen as trustworthy. If we live honestly, we are seen as upright. If we take responsibility, we are seen as mature. Here's a simple everyday example. In a work team, two people make the same mistake that causes a project to fail. The first immediately makes excuses, blaming circumstances and teammates. The second openly admits the mistake, explains how they'll fix it, and starts taking action. Same error, but different outcomes. The first is quietly seen as a burden. The second, though wrong, is respected more, for they show maturity. That is Stoicism in action. Not running, not making excuses, but focusing on what we can control, our actions and our attitude. At the end of the day, one simple but powerful truth stands out. Respect never comes from forcing others to acknowledge us. It comes from how we live, moment by moment, habit by habit. Stoics remind us, we cannot control what others think, but we can control whether we become people worthy of respect. And only when we become that kind of person does genuine respect flow naturally, without shouting, without show, without coercion. The Stoic path to becoming truly respected. Have you ever wondered what creates the most enduring form of respect? Is it power, wealth, or deep knowledge? Or perhaps a booming voice that forces others into silence? Look closely, and you'll see how fragile these things really are. Power can vanish overnight in the face of political upheaval. Wealth can disappear with a sudden market crash. Knowledge can become outdated in the constant tide of change. Even a loud, commanding voice today can sound like nothing more than noise tomorrow. But one thing endures: character and way of life. The Stoics believe that true respect does not come from what's on the surface, but must be cultivated from within. Marcus Aurelius once wrote to himself, "Do not concern yourself with what others think of you. Only look to see if you yourself are living as one worthy of respect." This statement captures the Stoic core view on respect. For if we live rightly, even when others fail to recognize it, we still hold the most important kind of respect. The respect we give ourselves. And only when self-respect exists can respect from others arrive naturally, without force. Imagine two people walking into the same room. The first enters dressed in splendor, speaking loudly, trying to impress with stories of their own accomplishments. The second enters with humility, listening more than speaking, but when they do speak, their words are concise, firm, and sincere. Who leaves the deeper impression of respect? The first may capture attention at first glance, but that attention quickly fades, replaced with irritation. The second, though quiet, lingers in memory, because they radiate a quality others instinctively trust. The Stoics understood that respect is a result of consistency in action. If today we live uprightly, but tomorrow we lie, people cannot know who we really are. But if we remain steady, truthful, humble, disciplined, and responsible, then, over time, those qualities etch themselves into how others see us. They will find us reliable, and from there, respect naturally grows. An ancient story proves this point well. When Epictetus was still a slave, he had no power, no wealth, and no freedom. Yet his calm demeanor, clarity of thought, and unyielding integrity earned even his master's admiration. Epictetus didn't need to raise his voice to be heard. He had no title to force anyone's respect. But everyone who met him recognized an inner strength that could not be ignored. That is respect born not from circumstances, but from character. If we look at the modern world, the lesson remains. Many celebrities may be celebrated, yet not genuinely respected. A social media star may have millions of followers, but if they constantly boast, speak recklessly, or get caught in lies and scandals, the admiration is nothing more than a thin coat of paint. One misstep, and it all collapses. Meanwhile, a schoolteacher quietly working in a rural village may never be known to the wider world, but generations of students respect them deeply for their dedication and integrity. Respect, then, has little to do with fame, and everything to do with how we live each day. So, what must we do to preserve respect? The Stoic answer is not about mastering clever speeches or strategies of influence. It lies in inner discipline. Guard your words, for each one reflects your character. Practice humility, for arrogance only masks insecurity. Hold fast to honesty, for a single lie can destroy years of trust. Accept responsibility, for only the courageous dare to carry the weight of their own actions. The key is this: none of these practices are meant for display. They are for us to remain true to ourselves. When we live this way, whether others recognize it or not matters less. And yet, paradoxically, the moment we stop craving respect from others is the very moment respect begins to find us. That is the Stoic spirit. We cannot control how the world treats us, but we can control how we treat ourselves. Take a modern example from the workplace. Some leaders rule through fear, issuing commands and driving results through intimidation. They may achieve short-term gains, but they never truly earn respect, only obedience. On the other hand, some leaders listen, admit their mistakes, and share burdens with their teams. These are the leaders who inspire real respect. And here's the remarkable part. Their employees work not just out of duty, but out of loyalty and trust. That is the strength of lasting respect. Stoicism does not promise that living this way will guarantee immediate success. But it does show us this. Whether we succeed or fail outwardly, our calm and our character remain within our control. And it is character that forms the bedrock of respect. A person may lose money, status, even reputation, but if they keep their character, they never lose genuine respect. Remember Marcus Aurelius' words. Your reputation will fade in the memory of others, but your character will never leave you. This is a reminder that if we entrust our respect to the opinions of others, we will always be insecure. But if we root it in our character, we stand firm. In the end, we can conclude this. Respect is not a goal to chase, but the natural consequence of living rightly. The Stoic does not live to please the world, but to avoid betraying themselves. When we do not betray ourselves, we already possess the highest form of respect. And from that foundation, respect from others will arrive naturally, like flowers blooming in their season, without force, without effort.